Build Your Business listeners. This is Matt Reynolds, your host for the podcast, and you are listening to what we are calling the legacy episodes. And really, these are the pre-episodes that really led to this podcast, the Build Your Business podcast. This is really my life's work and my brother's life's work in building your business. And so they were originally published in the Barbell Logic podcast as part of the Principles or Coaching Success series, but really touch on similar topics to the Build Your Business podcast: how to improve your productivity, how to set and accomplish your goals, deprioritize urgent tasks, to focus on what is most important to you, and most importantly, to become a better person and leader and business owner overall. I'm proud to bring you these podcasts. Again, many years of life's work, several years of podcasts, and several decades of business ownership. Hope you enjoy them and learn from them. You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Barbell Logic podcast. This is another episode of the Coaching Success podcast. This is episode 2, and we're going to continue with our discussion from last week on how to be people of action and how to officially start a business. How do we be that person of action and actually start a business without burning out in the process? I've done this a ton, and so I've got a lot of experience in starting businesses. We talked last week about being people of action. So if we are going to be successful in business, we must be people of action. And the best thing that we can do is to actually start a business. That's so scary. I remember doing this for the first time at Strong Gym and having no idea. As a matter of fact, we really started Strong Gym and it wasn't a business. And then I was backing up and I was trying to get insurance and file LLCs and get business bank accounts and all those sort of things. And I didn't really know what I was doing. It was terrifying. And so now that I've done that numerous times, certainly more than probably 15 or 20 times at this point, I've got a pretty good handle on the 3 basic steps it takes to start a business. So I'm going to walk you through that today. And then there will be a companion blog. It's actually a presentation that I gave on a Business of Coaching webinar that we did that I'm going to put in the show notes, and you can download that for free. And this will give you actually links to a lot of the stuff that I talk about how to find your state and articles of organization and things like that. So how do I start a business? There's 3 basic steps. We're going to go through each of those steps today. Number 1, file an articles of organization in your state. You're basically just telling your state, hey, I'm a business. That's for almost everybody. That's going to be an LLC, a basic sole proprietorship LLC. Maybe it's a partnership LLC. As you get more down the road and you grow, there's things like S Corps and C Corps. And like we are now a Delaware C Corp at Barbell Logic Inc. But in the beginning, it just needs to be a basic LLC business that the state looks at. The federal government actually looks at a sole proprietorship as just not even a real business. They just know that that's the way that you're making your money. And so they tax you on that income. So federally, it's not even that big of a deal, but the state needs to know that you're an actual business. So number 1 is to file an articles of organization in your state. I'll walk you through that. Number 2 is to get an employer identification number or an EIN number. The way to look at this is it's like a social security number, but for a business. It's just a specific number that's attached to each business that allows you to do business and get a business bank account and whatnot. And that leads us to number 3, which is to open a business bank account if you don't already have one. For the vast majority of you, for 99% of you, the bank that you bank at personally will work just fine for opening a business bank account. I certainly have some. I'll talk a little bit about some of my favorite things to do when I'm pursuing actually opening up a business bank account and why I choose specific banks. We'll get into that. So let's dive right in. So number 1, filing an articles of organization with your state. And this is the thing that's going to be the most different for everyone because of depending on what state you live in. But I would say this, number 1, do this online, not on paper, because on every state, as far as I'm concerned, this can be filed online literally in like 10 minutes. You can go online and you can file an articles of organization with your state. It's got some cost with it, but it's usually not much. Certainly there are certain states, I think like California, it's several $100s. It might be like $400. I think in Missouri, it's like $50. In a lot of states, I think I did help a buddy do it in Tennessee. It was like $25. So it's cheap to file an articles of organization, and then you're a real business, right? So you do that online. Here's what you do. You go to Google, you search articles of organization plus your state, right? Articles of organization, Missouri, articles of organization, California, and you file it there. You want to make sure it's the Secretary of State official government website. Tons of websites will pop up. There are like legal websites that are trying to get you to spend more money. They will file it for you, but it's a very easy process. Don't pay a third party to do this. Just make sure it's, the URL for the website will be like .sos.mo, like for Missouri, .gov. So we'll almost always end in .gov, and then it's the actual website that the government puts out. If needed, you'll register as an agent with your state. So sometimes you have to pre-register before you start the business to saying, okay, I am the agent for my state so that I can actually start businesses. It's super simple. You put in basic personal information, stuff that you're all going to have. You're not going to have to gather anything. You want to do a quick business name search in your state for conflicting names. So if you had a name like Barbellogic or whatever you are, you're Reynolds Strong or something like that, you want to make sure that there's not conflicting names that would have problems down the line as far as trademarks are concerned, or someone would come after you and say, hey, that's like the name of my business. If it's a very similar name, but it's in a completely different industry, and by the way, I should say, I'm not an attorney, so you can always make sure, it's spending good money on good attorneys, good insurance, and good accountants have saved us many, many times. And so I would say those are great things to do. I also know the reality is that most of you in the process of starting a business don't have much funds, and you can do this on your own and you'll be just fine. That said, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not giving legal advice here, right? So what you want to do is you want to register as an agent with your state if the state requires you to do that. That's a 5-minute process max. Make sure that you don't have any conflicting names with your business. If it's in an industry that is like nothing like coaching or fitness or anything in that world, you're probably still okay. Not guaranteed. Some of that is dependent on full trademarks and whatnot, but even trademarks are often given the same trademark names in completely different industries are often given out. So you don't have to worry too much if it's similar, but it's like not in the fitness industry at all. It's wise to also do a US trademark office search. I'm going to put that in the show notes. Link is right there. You can go right in and check and just make sure there's no trademarks filed for exactly your name or something that would conflict. And that is federally, not just by the state. So if there were another Reynolds Strong or Barbellogic or something like that in the actual entire United States, or if that's, by the way, this applies really to those of you in the US. I have no idea how to start a business outside the US. I'm sure it's completely different. So if you're trying to start a business and you're not in the US, I don't know how applicable this will be. I'm sure there are similar steps, but I'm sure there's stuff all over the place with different countries across the world. So number one, file the articles of organization with your state, pay whatever that fee is, put your debit card in, spend your $25 to your several $100s, and it's over with. And you will have a certificate right then and there. It usually comes as a PDF. You can print it off, put it in a 3-ring binder, upload it to Google Drive, put it on your hard drive, and you can now show that I have an actual business. And that's sort of an accomplishment thing that occurs there too, where you feel like, hey, I accomplished something. Like I'm a real business now. I'm not just saying that I'm a coach or a strength coach or online coaching or whatever, but I actually have a business. So that's step one. Step two, this is super easy. Get an employer identification number, an EIN number. So once you have your articles of organization, which is what you're going to need to get an EIN number, you need to get that EIN number. And it's just like a social security number, like I said, for a business. I'm going to drop in the website for that, the exact government website. Again, there will be third parties that try to sell you something. So getting an EIN is completely free. It shouldn't cost you $1 to get an EIN. And again, 5-minute process or less. You'll click on the link that I'm going to send in the show notes, apply online now, answer the questions. It's easy, it's free, it's fast. And by the way, don't overthink or stress out about the questions. There are going to be some questions that you're not sure you have a perfect answer for. It will be okay. It's the very beginning of the business. You're filing almost certainly probably a sole proprietorship LLC. Just answer them to the best of your abilities, right? So for most of you, you're going to want to start a limited liability company, sole proprietorship. If you have a partner, it's will be a limited liability company partnership, and you'll have both partners listed in there. That's it. Step 2 complete. So now we're already through the first 2 steps. Step 3, open a business bank account. All you need for a business bank account, for an actual business bank account, is your articles of organization and your EIN number, and of course, personal identification. And occasionally, the bank will ask for an operating agreement. And that's usually only if you have a partner. If you don't have partners, they usually don't ask for that. So let me walk through a couple things about banks. I like to bank at a local bank because I want them to know who I am. I want them to see my face. If I needed to go get a loan from a bank and I go to one of the big five investment banks, which certainly has access to billions of dollars for loans, I'm still just a number. They're never going to know Matt Reynolds, Barbell Logic, none of those things. And they're not going to know you either. But when I go to my local bank in Springfield, Missouri, that's a regional bank that is, in spite of what you've heard, and you want to check on this, but our bank is very solvent and they're not over leveraged. And so we feel safe banking at our bank. We've banked at them for 15 years. So everything is fine. I like going to a local bank. I like walking in and having people say, hey, Matt, how's it going? How's the business? I want that. I want to have a personal relationship with the VPs of the bank. At this point, a relationship with the president and the CEO of the bank. Like, I like that stuff. And of course, I didn't have relationships with those people when I first started and I had, $2,500 in the account, but it's a good start. I would never know the CEO of Bank of America or Chase or, one of the big ones, right? So if you need an operating agreement, you can use the link I'll give in the show notes. You can go to legal templates and fill that out. It's a super simple, basically, operating agreement is just answering simple questions about ownership percentages of the business, initial personal investment. If you put like $5,000 of your own money or something into the business bank account to start it, again, don't overthink it. Answer it to the best of your abilities. Your bank is not going to go through that like crazy. They know it's a brand new business that's opening. The big thing is you just need that articles of organization and the EIN, and then you're done. And you've got those three things. You've got your articles of organization, step 1, complete. You have your EIN, step 2, complete. And by the way, these podcasts come out on Friday. You can do those first 2 steps over the weekend. And then on Monday morning, go to the bank and go get yourself a business bank account. So you should do that as people of action. In the next 3 days, you should be able to do all 3 of these things. And for some of you in the next 24 hours, you'll be able to do that stuff. And then the next step is you'll begin using that business bank account for all business revenue and expenses. So all coaching revenue that you take in should be deposited into that business checking account. So checks, ACH, if you take payments by PayPal or Venmo or Cash App or any of those, if you utilize Stripe, which is what we use at TurnKey Coach, that should be auto-deposited into that business bank account. Additionally, all coaching and business-related expenses, and only coaching business and business-related expenses, should be spent from that business bank account. Those things are tax-free. These expenses come directly off your income so that you don't pay any taxes on that income. So things like equipment, weightlifting equipment, can now be bought tax-free as a business expense. It's completely legal, right? Travel, mileage, even a car use specifically for businesses, a laptop for online coaching, internet service, business meals are 50% tax-free, marketing expenses. So even if you have a home gym and or home office, that square footage is tax deductible, not tax-free, but tax deductible each year for things like utilities and renovations and things like that. So we take on my business office and the gym, and we take that square footage and we look at how much we pay on like utilities. We have a combined utility company here in Springfield, Missouri, and we're able to actually deduct those amounts off of, make those tax deductions for us at the end of the year. So, and then if you are a sole proprietor, especially, you can pay yourself anything you want out of that business bank account. And the best practice is to just write yourself a check with the word payroll in the memo line for easier accounting. So that at the end of the year, whether you do accounting yourself, at some point I'm going to try to talk you into getting an accountant. At this point in your business, it shouldn't be very expensive, and they can do your taxes at the end of the year and make sure a good accountant will save you certainly more money than you'll pay them throughout the year. And so that's what you'll start doing. You'll start, all of the business revenue goes in the business account, all the business expenses get spent out of the business account. You can go to Sam's and get the things that you need, like whatever store, Costco. You can get those things, and if they are business expenses, they come right off your income. So if you make $100,000 that first year, but $30,000 or $40,000 are business expenses, then your income is going to show up as only $60,000 or $70,000 a year, which is great because you get taxed at a fairly high rate as when you're self-employed. And so this is the very first thing you want to do to start a business and start moving in the right direction. Now, why I love TurnKey Coach. What I love about TurnKey Coach is that in the first 5 minutes of signing up for TurnKey Coach, you'll have your own Stripe account, which is the biggest payment processor in the world at this point. I think it's the most valuable private business in the world. It's the one we've used for 8 years at Barbell Logic. We've processed, of course, millions and millions of dollars through that over the last 8 years, probably, I don't know, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of charges. They have been fantastic to work with. You will have your own Stripe account when you sign up through TKC that allows for seamless integrated payment collection. It's so much better than a PayPal or a Cash App or something that takes you off site. One of the things I've always hated about PayPal is you get ready to take a payment and then you got to go to PayPal and it feels janky and like, these guys don't really have a way to charge you on their website. Like all that goes away when you sign up through TurnKey Coach. You have an automated Stripe account that costs you nothing to set up. And by the way, setting up that payment of sale, that payment processing or point of sale payment processing service, that's sort of scary. And often they ask you all sorts of questions that you don't have the answer to, but because you will be able to use it through our Stripe Connect account, since we have a great relationship with Stripe, and you'll pay no more through Stripe using us. As a matter of fact, we're trying to work to get a discount so that you would pay less. Then TKC takes all of the pain out of that process, makes it super simple. Within 5 minutes, you have your own Stripe account that can be seamlessly integrated for payment processing. And then just a few minutes after that, you can set up all of your own coaching plans and a very clean, simple landing page. And we do all of that for you so that you can, you'll have to tell us what your coaching plans are. You set up those coaching plans, and then we give you a landing page that says, this is exactly the coaching plans that I offer. So I do, online coaching, 3 workout breakdowns a week or 1 workout breakdown a week or programming only, or here's my in-person plans. You can have all of those directly set up through your Stripe account so that you can start signing up clients right away. And then TKC never holds any of that money. It gets directly deposited into your business bank account that you just set up, step 3, right? Within a business day or 2. So just like when you take a payment through Cash App or anybody else, and it takes a day or 1 or 2 business days to deposit into your account. Same thing there. It never hits our account and then goes from our account to yours. It's nothing like that. We also don't make any money off processing fees. The processing fees that we pay or that pay through that payment processing is the only fee that you pay. And those are very nominal rates that Stripe charge. I think it's 2.9%, which is really good for online. So if you have an in-person account, somebody actually swipes a credit card, there are some payment processors that will actually charge a little bit less because it's a lower chance of fraud if someone's holding the credit card, looking you in the eye and, running their credit card or using their chip, as opposed to putting it in online. 2.9% is extremely cheap for online payment processing. So that's the only fee that you pay there. TurnKey Coach is the best way to start your online coaching business, taking a ton of the business management off of your hands so that you can be free to do what you do best and what you love, which is simply coach. Growing your pay to $150 an hour and more, and all while improving service to your clients. To learn more about TurnKey Coach and be invited as an early user, visit turnkey.coach to schedule a demo call with me personally today. Again, that's why I love TurnKey Coach. So these 3 actionable items of articles of organization, EIN, business bank account really flows incredibly smoothly into signing up for TurnKey Coach. And so that's a really seamless process. So the goal is to get through these first 3 steps in the next 3 days. Be a person of action, like we talked about on the last episode. Go ahead and file your articles of organization with your state. Go ahead and get your EIN number. Again, both of those should take less than 15 minutes total. You can do them online. You can do them over the weekend. You can do them after hours because it's online. And then go to the bank on Monday morning and open up a business bank account. And you are good to go. And you have a real business and you can be proud and accomplished. And you can say, I was a person of action. I actually did this thing. And then we'll start talking about the next step next week. So that's it. That's the big 3 steps. This has been another episode of Coaching Success from the Barbell Logic podcast. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, we'd love a 5-star review on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Those are the 2 big ones that will help us in the algorithm. Share it. Remember, go to the show notes, go to the landing page of the website on barbelllogic.com. You can find this presentation with all of the links that takes you directly to the spot so that if you're listening to this while you're driving or you're training or whatever, and you didn't get to take notes and write it down, all of that will be in there for you. And you can just follow along the steps and get it done in under an hour and you're finished. So be a person of action, do something today. Let's actually start a real business. Let's do it. We'll see you next week.